on it, but a couple of things in college football to start out. First off, and this could have impact into realignment, Oregon's president, Michael H. Schill, has been named the 17th president of Northwestern University. So he's moving on to the Big Ten's flagship academic institution. And that could have some effects in realignment because Oregon will now have an interim president, and interim presidents aren't really charged with really doing anything. They're just kind of charged with driving the boat until somebody's there to take over. So it could be interesting to see how that affects the Pac-12 and realignment and TV deals and all that moving forward, because that person will have no actual I mean, they have a little bit of power, but it's not like being the president who's in the permanent job. So it does matter or it doesn't matter? Well, I mean, I think because you started off where it mattered, and then by the end, you're like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. No, the person's job, like their job is just to kind of steer the boat, and you don't want to make any waves as the interim that's going to, affect anybody around you, because, again, it's not your job full time, unless you get that directive from somebody above you, like a regent or something, but... So it has no effect then, really? I think it would. It might, because, would you jump to a conference? Would you make that decision as the president of school? You just said you don't have any power. Yeah, so you can't. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm confused. So the guy has power or doesn't? He doesn't. Okay. That's what I'm saying. So all right, I agree with you. I'm like, so it doesn't have any effect on anything. What did I say? I think you were saying that it has an effect, and I'm saying so it doesn't have an effect. I don't know. Well, maybe I'm just it could have an effect on conference realignment and like stopping it at least. Yeah, okay, it's stopping it. I thought you were talking about like moving, having an effect. No. It's like no, it's not going to have any effect because he's not going to have any power. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're on the same page. We're on the same page. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so if there was any kind of forward momentum, this will slow it up at least a little bit, I would think. I mean, maybe. I mean, again, who are we talking about? We're talking about a dude who we all just learned about today that may or may not have any power. So if conference realignment gets upended by just some random person to most of the world, who's not random, I realize, to the people who are hiring him and who are, going to be listening to him, then that would be certainly a curveball, to have just a whole new character entering the game right in the middle of it or towards the tail end of the final stage. And, all of a sudden here's, oh, boom. Surprise. So, yeah, I don't know anything about Michael Schill. Yeah. I have absolutely no idea about, this guy outside of just what's been reported about him, going from Oregon to Northwestern. But, I don't know how all the politics work at the higher levels of education. I'm a college football fan. I realize that with that comes that other stuff as well from time to time. Certainly we've talked about Dr. Livingstone at Baylor. And, of course, you're going to know what the ADs and stuff are doing. But when it gets into, like, chancellors and presidents and, all that kind of jazz, I don't know that landscape nearly as well. So, yeah, I mean, I had the same thought that a lot of other people had as far as, the pack, Oregon's going to the Big Ten, in a roundabout way, because this guy's going from Oregon to Northwestern. But, yeah, I'm curious to see what kind of an effect it has, and certainly am open to hear from somebody who has a better idea of what this means as to what this means exactly, and whether or not it matters at all, or we're all just looking for anything to try and glean some sort of info on where this is all headed. It's like, oh, my God, Oregon's president's leaving for Northwestern. Holy cow, Notre Dame's joining the Big Ten. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, does this matter, or are we like so in the weeds now that, we're trying to look for anything that could tip off us to what's coming next? But, no, certainly a school president change is of note, and I just don't know to what extent they have a say in, blowing the winds of realignment one way or the other. I would think it would just slow it up, on Oregon's part if there was anything going, which I actually think right now there's not. I mean, there is, but there's not. I mean, there's not any, like, real forward momentum because we've talked about it for days. We don't – until the Big Ten TV deal is officially announced and not – we believe all these things to be true and nobody's come out and contradicted any reports, but – until they know, until all the parties know what's going on, then I don't think anything's really going to move forward. And even then, it might move forward at a snail's pace now compared to what it was. And because, again, we don't know anything. I just wonder if this will, throw a wrench in anything just because interim presidents, and I can just tell you from being through several different changes here in my time in Waco at Baylor, the interim doesn't really rock the boat there very much. David Garland, when he was brought in, did a nice job of of kind of helping to point the university in a direction and calm things down after Ken Starr left. But I mean, he wasn't in charge of any like big decisions because, again, it wasn't going to be his charge. He was just the interim. They pulled him out of retirement to come back and do it, you know. So those are the kind of things that happen under interim presidents.
Well, he was the chair of the Pac-12 CEO board, apparently. I just saw that tweet. So he had some influence. Yeah, what timing for the Pac-12 to have this guy who's the CEO chair or the chair of the CEO board to be leaving right in the midst of this, and now for Oregon to have to go the interim route or whatever their plans are to replace Michael Schill. I mean, that's all certainly very interesting on the, you know, more the political side of this thing, but the politics are, you know, what drives a lot of what goes on in college sports. So I'm sure this will have, you know, some ramification. I would think mostly just up there in that area for the most part, and, you know, beyond that, yeah, if it does slow things down, then that's notable. And if it speeds them up somehow or another that I can't see, then that's notable as well. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see on that. But, yeah, I'm not planning on making president news a whole regular thing. But in this temperature, I guess, yeah, it is definitely of note.
Yeah, and I let off with that just because realignment seems to move the needle. And, yeah, we'll see. I mean, it could have no effect at all. It could have a tremendous effect. It could have a medium level effect of just slowing down what would be inevitable. But again, we don't know what any of that stuff is.